Every year my town hosts a carnival. It's a big deal. Ferris wheels, fair games, hall of mirrors, and that stupid twirly swing ride that makes you want to vomit. They really pull out all the stops for this one weekend in October. Growing up, I would get sugar sick, as my mom liked to call it, from all the cotton candy and funnel cakes. I'd only feel the symptoms after the night was done, while laying in bed, clutching my prizes. I would ignore the molasses and play back all the festivities in my head. I skipped the carnival now. It doesn't do anything for me anymore. So imagine my dismay as my girlfriend, who helps work at the carnival, dragged me along one night after all the crowds had left. "No lines," she squealed. "I even know how to turn on the Ferris wheel." I tried to look excited, even though I wasn't. She yanked me over to the shooting gallery, and we sat down in front of a counter lined with water pistols. There were several bullseye targets hung about 15 feet away. We fired away, but of course I let her win. I jumped the counter and make my way over to the prize rack. There was huge stuffed animals, baseball caps, and t-shirts lined on the wall. "Which one do you want?" I asked. She tried to look like she was making a life-altering decision. I'll admit it now, it was kind of cute. Before choosing, I see her whip out her cell phone and snap a picture of me next to the prizes. I'm stuck between picking you or the stuffed octopus next to the clown head doll. I'll take the octopus. I rolled my eyes and reached past the clown head doll for the octopus. From there, she pulled me over to the carousel. I watched her disappear into the engineer's control room, and a few seconds later, the pipe organ started and the carousel cranked into motion. During the ride, she felt it was time for another picture. I really tried to smile. We only stayed in the hall of mirrors for a few minutes. It was pitch black in there. We kept bumping into the mirrors and each other. Of course, she snapped a picture in there too. The blinding flash didn't help our disorientation either. After the terrifying hall of mirrors situation, we decided to leave. She told me she was going to go home and post the pictures of the great night. The next morning, I got onto Facebook and noticed the small album she uploaded. I started reading through the comments. "Y'all are so lucky. Carnival all to yourself? Nice." What struck me off guard were the next comments. "Loving the photobombing clown. Who's that dressed up as a clown? Wait, what?" I looked through the pictures again, and sure enough, there he was. In the carousel picture, there was a tall clown in the background. The speed of the ride somewhat blurred his image, but I could see him, just standing there, arms to his side. In the hall of mirrors, the flash illuminated the face of a smiling clown in one mirror, in the corner of the picture. There was something chillingly twisted about his expression. How many times did I collide into him thinking it was my girlfriend? And lastly, there was the picture of me standing next to the shooting gallery prize rack. There he was, next to the octopus I grabbed for my girlfriend. I thought he was a doll. The realization made me absolutely sick. I was hair's length away from him. His warm breath probably grazed my skin. What sort of sick delight did he get from doing this? I called up my girl, who was still asleep, and asked her if she knew the clowns that were hired for the carnival. Her reply made me shudder. They got rid of Clown 5 years ago, when parents complained that they were scaring kids. I think back to this day, every time they open up that stupid carnival, and I could never get over it. After my first semester of university, at the beginning of May, I decided to reward myself by getting tickets for a band I wanted to see. They weren't playing in my hometown, unfortunately, and the nearest venue they were playing at was in a small town 6 hours away by train. I had a friend who attended university in that town, who agreed to let me stay with her, so I figured that I would be fine to go up. I had never been to this town before, but having lived in larger cities my entire life, I often associate small towns with safety. I declined my friend's offer to drive me to the concert, considering she was studying for finals and I enjoy a good walk. The town was divided by a river, and to cross that river, you had to first go over one bridge, and then walk through a park on an island, then cross a second bridge to get back into town. To get to the first bridge from my friend's university, you had to walk down a nature trail. All this was perfectly lovely as I did it at sunset. I had just emerged from my first winter in a rather harsher environment than I had grown up in, and the whole nature trail park combo was filled with joggers, children playing, and squirrels and everything that I had missed. This is not only noteworthy in that I felt completely at ease with my route, but I was pretty distracted and I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to exactly which path I had taken. The concert didn't let out until probably slightly past midnight. I got to the first bridge, crossed it, and proceeded across the island to the second bridge. It was a nice night out, and I was actually sort of enjoying myself in the warm spring air. That is, until I got onto a hill I didn't remember walking over on the way there. I stopped at the base of it, feeling that something was off, but eventually attributing it to the fact that I somehow had forgotten an entire hill. How funny, I thought, as I walked up the mystery hill. All my thoughts ceased as I got to the top and found myself looking down the path into an empty carnival, and beyond that, the second bridge. For a bit of context, I'm a 5'7", 120-pound female, trained as a circus performer pretty much my entire life. This means that whatever extra weight I carry is pretty much all muscle, and also that I don't have any sort of fear of carnivals, clowns, or anything. But walking over a hill I didn't remember to see an entire carnival I didn't remember set me on the edge. But I didn't see any way around it. Literally, there was forest on both sides. Plus, the bridge was right there, and besides, the carnival looked abandoned. So I start off down the other side of the hill into the creepy carnival, maintaining a quick pace, definitely on high alert. I kept my focus mainly on the bridge I was aiming for. I was most of the way through when I saw people. I saw them from far enough away that I didn't jump, but I didn't stop dead in my tracks either. They seemed pretty normal looking by their clothes, and I was too far away to see their faces. They were sitting in whatever was available: lemonade stands, immobile roller coasters, covered picnic tables, and things of that sort. I really didn't know what to do about it, and I'm sure there were much and much better options available. But in that moment, feeling I had to do something, I started to walk forward again. And as I did, I made eye contact with the first one of them I saw, and I held it as I walked through them. The man I had chosen to look at, I remember very vividly, looked a lot like I imagined death would look like. A gaunt, drawn-out face with no expression of any type on it, sunken eyes that followed me as the rest of his body stayed still. From what I could tell, the rest did the same. I was terrified out of my wits, and for some reason, making eye contact with this zombie of a man was the only thing that I felt was keeping me safe. I never broke eye contact with him until I reached the second bridge, so far as to opt to walk backwards down the trail. I turned and crossed the bridge at a sprint, and someone shouted behind me, which only prompted me to run faster. Now, I mentioned that the route from the university to the bridge was a nature trail. This meant that it had no lights on it and was as black as a void, trees covering up the moon and making it impossible to see anything. I didn't care though. I ran down the trail, tripping over who knows what, anything to put distance between me and the creepy carnival people. Eventually, I reached the patch of light at the edge of the university and stopped. There wasn't any noise anymore, except for crickets and my own frantic breathing. If any had followed me, they hadn't done so for long. I managed to gather myself together enough and remember that I did in fact have a cell phone, which at that point I used to call my friend to have her meet me at the well-lit spot on campus, populated by studying students. I told her what had happened, and her eyes got really wide. As it turned out, there were two trails through the park on the island, a north and a south one. I had taken the north one on the way there, and accidentally taken the south one on the way back. She told me that people never ever passed through the carnival at night, as it was where local meth addicts would hang out. They were unpredictable at best, and at their worst, well, muggings were the least of it. I had gotten off extremely lucky, so everything ended up being explainable, but somehow that made it even worse. I didn't sleep well that night, and when my friend offered to drive me to the train station across the river that following evening, I accepted.